go to Lauren Brill, who's live at Rhode Island Hospital with an update on those victims, if you have one. Lauren?
Right, as you guys said, we're right outside of Rhode Island Hospital, the emergency room entrance where we did see a Pawtucket rescue with their lights on parked outside here. Now that rescue has since left. We've also seen Pawtucket police show up here with their lights and sirens on. I also saw Rhode Island State Police as well. Now, right now, as you guys said moments ago, we don't know if all of those 4 victims were transported here. We're working to learn more information. I reached out to the spokesperson of Rhode Island Hospital to learn more about the extent of their injuries and if all of those victims are here right now. We'll continue to keep you updated. We haven't really seen any family members or any other people showing up here to the emergency room. Things have kind of calmed down here, but as I said, we'll continue to keep you updated on this. I'll send it back to you guys.
Tim, what are we going to hear or expect to hear from this news conference?
Yeah, I mean, again, unlike Brown University, where it was very focused on a shooter is at large, I think we're going to hear more about the circumstances that led up to the shooting. I don't know that we'll have the shooter's identity or the victim's identity at this point. I'd be very surprised if officials released any victim identification at this initial press conference. We're going to hear a lot about response and who were the first responders that arrived on scene. And then we're going to hear, I suspect, moving forward. This is a criminal investigation. They're going to be looking at not only the shooter, but was there anyone else involved? And I want to stress, we have no information at this point, but these are just the threads that investigators are going to be looking at. They're going to look at where did this individual purchase the gun or guns, depending on how many were used here, and the style of magazine that was used, and if it was a high-capacity magazine or not. There are a lot of going to be unanswered questions. I will be curious to see if, much like we saw in Providence, if Pawtucket Mayor Don Grebian is going to handle the press conference moving forward. You have Tina Gonsalves, who is the police chief in Pawtucket. I suspect she will be there as well, along with other law enforcement agencies.
I think one thing we can probably expect to see too, not now, not in the immediate wake of this, but so often when we have one of these kinds of shootings, you see a change in security. And okay, we are hearing that this press conference is going to be happening in the next 15 minutes. Again, we'll bring that to you live. But we saw Brown reassess its security situation. We've seen elementary schools completely change their security in the wake of the Sandy Hook shooting. I don't know what security is like when you go into a hockey game, but I cannot imagine you're entering through metal detectors at a hockey game. And it's not something anybody would think you need to do at a high school hockey game.
The streaming service you were earlier trying to think of as Live Barn,
Yes,
and a
correct.
lot of people who are in youth sports are very familiar with the streaming service, and this is the service that was streaming this hockey game live when the shooting happened. It must have been absolutely horrifying to anybody who was sitting with their laptop on their lap and watching this game at home.
And that was locked down after the shooting for obvious reasons, that live stream. And that's a good point too, Tim, because we talk about all the people that were in the stands when this happened, and we saw the mental health response. And I think Mayor Smiley was really, really vocal about getting that, and very focused about getting that out for the people of Providence, the people of Brown. And you know, again, we mentioned we don't know who was in this crowd, but you have to imagine it was families. It could have been young children. This is live video of people being put on buses. We've mentioned that they're trying to get the people who were in this rink out of this area and somewhere else where they can be reunified with their family. Originally, the Walgreens next to the hockey rink was the staging area for that. But as you can see, very much like, as Kim mentioned, like we saw after the Brown University shooting, using those RIPTA buses to take people away from the scene and bring them somewhere else.
A lot of these old hockey rinks, too, and Lynch has been around forever, have one way in and one way out. So you're going in the center way, and that's it. There are no side doors.
We can confirm, as I said, that the intelligence was converging on the victim being a female. We have confirmed that the victim in the shooting, not the shooter who is a male, is a female.
The victim who was killed in the shooting.
The victim who was killed in the shooting is a female. The next big question, of course, is age. I don't have that. I don't know the age of the victim at this point. So again, this information is just coming in, and we are doing our best to confirm the information as we get it. We're trying to be very careful with the information. Police can now report are looking at this as a possible domestic situation that happened at the arena. We have reported multiple times this is targeted. I've been careful to say more than that, but at this point, police are investigating this as a possible domestic violence situation.
And I think that's something we'll learn, not necessarily the motive or the domestic situation, but especially when we get to that press conference when it comes to the victims.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first things we learned at that first press conference after Brown was how many victims, what kind of status they're at the hospital, whether
Yes.
their injuries are serious, and ages sometimes. I think with Brown, it was a little different because they were still trying to interview victims, and again, we had a shooter who was on the loose in that case.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have reported the shooter is dead, and there's one victim who is dead. We will learn more probably about the nature of the injuries moving forward, and hopefully not this, but if there are any other fatalities from this shooting, we will learn it at that news conference.